This week on Corinne's Picks, episode 2 of an interview with Sylvia Sussman.
I'ma show you how to party.
Welcome to Corinne's Pick. This is episode 2 of an interview with Sylvia Sussman. We interviewed her last week and she showed us amazing paintings of landscapes and atmospheric images of forests, of the environment. Sylvia, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
You know, in the last show, we showed a lot of images. I want to show the audience about 5 more images again. And then we could talk a little bit more about your career and get deeper into you as an artist.
Okay.
So actually, we're going to show some images first, and maybe you can give the name and describe the images.
Yes. That's called Neptune's Realm. It's a 6 foot by 5 foot canvas and oil. And sometimes I get my ideas from poetry, and I read a lot. And I was reading the Aeneid, as translated by Dryden, the British poet. And there's a whole section where he's talking about Neptune, and I did 2 paintings, 2 big paintings. One of them is a triptych that's very large, and then this one that come out of the feeling of the power and the beauty of the sea and the surroundings of the sea, and the power of Neptune as a god. So.
Okay, the next painting, please.
Okay, this is a monotype. It's quite small. It's 10.5 inches by 6 inches, and it's a good example of the monotype process. You can see how much imagery you can get into the print, and that it can be very mysterious.
How did you get the waves highlighted, the white lines for the waves?
You know, I don't know. It's a process. That one I did quite a while ago, but it's a process of putting paint down and then rubbing it off and taking a piece of cloth or your finger or a brush and moving the paint around. And the other thing is that you don't have to live with the first impression, like you put it through the press and you take it out and you want to do more to it. So you can go back to the plate and you can add or take away things and put it through the press again with the same piece of paper. Take the same print and put it back through the press, so that you get multi-layered image.
Okay.
And you can't always tell. This is one that we can actually talk about my practice, because this I learned a lot with this series of paintings. I did a series of 3 of them called Trees and Fog. And this may even have been the first one. When painting, this is on paper and it's 30 inches by 22 inches and it's oil. And one of the problems with painting with oil on paper is that if you're painting on canvas, you can rub things off, you can scrub, you can take a sandpaper, you can get back down to the texture of the canvas, and you can get it back you can almost get rid of the color. On paper, you can't. Once you put a color down, it seeps into the paper, and it's very, very hard to rub it out. And if you look closely, you can see that there's a slight above the tree images. As you get up to just above the center, you see that there's a kind of halo of green around the trees and up in what would be the sky. And you can see the marks made by a stick, and the vague tree images, but they've been dissolved in some way. Well, I had done that, and there were more trees, and I have a drawing group that meets once a week in my studio. And I was telling my colleagues that I really wanted to get rid of those trees up in the upper left-hand corner, but it was really hard to rub the paint off the paper. And one of them said, "Why don't you use white? Why don't you obliterate it with white?" And I thought, yes. And so I took layers of white and I covered the green, and I got this foggy look. And that's how trees and fog came to be. And I did 3 of those paintings. I've sold 2 of them to one couple that are friends of mine, and then another to a former student of mine. So they used to be up in my studio because I liked them so much, but now they're gone to live somewhere else.
You know,
and that's
in painting, you know me as a painter as well. Some of
Yes.
my greatest mistakes have led me in so many other directions. Like in art, they say that there are no mistakes.
That's right.
And I think that the painting is magnificent, and it's truly an example of a mistake transforming a painting into something else.
Exactly. It's a teaching experience, and it's wonderful because it gets you out of your usual way of doing things. And doing monotypes, printmaking has also helped me with that because it's such a different medium from oil painting that it led me in other directions.
And also painting is a deeply spiritual thing because it's about trust. You have to have an enormous trust in yourself that you're going to get to where you need to go.
Yes, and sometimes you don't get there.
Because the kind of painting that you're doing, specifically a lot of people who are doing more abstract work, it's about trust, because there is absolutely no roadmap. You're not painting by numbers, and you're just trusting that something is going to guide you to where you need to go.
That's right. That's right. And sometimes there are long periods where that doesn't happen.
So okay, so let's look at another painting. I think we have about 2 more paintings.
Yes. This is Trees at Night, and there are 2 of them. I did 2 monotypes. One of them has a less color in the sky. That yellow is gone from the sky in the next one. But that's the second one, and it's 23 5/8 inches by 17 5/8 inches, and it's a monotype. And its mate, which is very similar to it, was in a print show recently. But this is Trees in Snow, and this is also oil on paper, and it's 40 inches by 26 inches. This is this paper is Arch's watercolor paper, 140-pound watercolor paper, and I prepare it. I put a thin layer of a material that's like a size, but it's transparent. It's not like gesso. It's transparent, so you still see the texture of the paper. So you're painting on the texture of the paper, but you've coated the paper so that it takes the paint better, and it doesn't. The paint won't rot it.
Also, I want to remind the viewers that these paintings are not from photographs. They're actually based on your imagination.
That's right. They build themselves. I mean, the image just arrives in the process of painting. So the fact that it's called Trees and Snow is probably because I wanted to get rid of some stuff that I had put down, and I put the white paint on top of it, and it began to look like snow. So there you go.
So, I have a question for you because, as a painter, I've grappled with the idea of, painting for the process and the inner journey, but also recognizing that there's a market out there and, you have to pay bills. And, I've had to pay attention to the market, and it has definitely affected pretty strongly at times what I paint. How does the market affect your work? I mean, how do you grapple with the market and doing what you want to do on your inner journey?
Well, I was very lucky because I got a degree, I got a PhD in sociology before I was becoming a painter. And so, although I didn't follow my major career, I did get a good job in a really good private professional school for clinical social workers to teach them research. And I did that for many years. The school only recently closed, forced by the state and the corporate education world. But it was a wonderful school, and I was able to earn a reasonable living. I don't need a lot of money to live, and although it is very costly to live, I have to say that. But my husband and I had bought this house. We'd inherited some money from his family when his mother died. We took care of his mother for many years. And we brought her over from England, and we sold her house, which was by her request. And she lived with us for 8 years. And so some of that money bought the house that I live in now, and it has a large apartment downstairs and an apartment on top in the back above my studio. So I don't have to depend on selling my paintings. I don't have a fancy car. I don't live a fancy life, but I do all right. I do sell work. I've had some shows, and I have a following of people who've been coming to my studio for open studios for years, and some former students of mine have bought paintings. In the last 2 years, for a couple of years, I did open studios and nothing happened, and in the last 2 years, I did open studios in the summer, and I sold a few paintings, and I did very well. I am going to have a gallery show in January at a new, well, a reasonably new local gallery in Berkeley. She shows a lot of local artists and a lot of artists who depend on the landscape for their imagery. And she has a very good sense of, she loves painting, and she has a very good sense of painting. So I'll be proud to be showing there.
Yeah, it's kind of tricky because if you're not concerned about market forces, it definitely frees you to go in any direction you choose to go, and really make painting your life's journey. But we'll talk about that some more in a couple of minutes. We're going to go to a break and have our PSAs. We'll be back in a moment.
Just kidding. Why did the girl ask the mushroom to dance? Because he was a fun guy. What do you call a pig that knows karate? Pork chop. So how does a tissue dance? Put a little boogie on it.
Patriotism. It inspires passionate debate. It's worn like a badge of honor with good reason, because it means love and devotion for one's country. But what really makes up this country of ours? It's the people. To love America is to love all Americans. This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Love beyond age, sexuality, disability, race, religion, and other labels. Because love has no labels.
Welcome back. We've been talking to Sylvia Sussman in a second episode of Corinne's Picks with Sylvia. Sylvia, we were talking about market forces before the commercials, and you were saying that basically it has not affected you, that basically you basically paint whatever you really want to paint.
That's right. I'm lucky that way. I realize that I'm very lucky that I can do that. And not everybody has that possibility.
So I have a question. You have a PhD in sociology, but yet
Yes.
you've lived a life as a fine artist. Has that affected the way you view social work in any way?
Actually, my degree is not in social work. I worked with social workers. I taught them how to do research. But because of being an artist, I was able, it had an effect on my teaching. So I would go into a seminar, and instead of being over-prepared, as I used to be when I would give lectures, and I taught sociology in colleges, in this small group of social work educators and thinkers who were getting PhDs in social work, I could walk into a seminar room and not be prepared, just start working spontaneously with the students about what they've been reading, what they've been thinking, and it made me more creative. I guess I learned from all these years of painting to be more creative in that situation. I also, but this is maybe just me because of the way I was brought up. I have a different way of thinking about things than a lot of people, and I can see different sides of a situation. So I'm not that enamored of academic sociology anymore as I was when I first started. And
I've had a number of professionals in the social work field as well, and I've dealt with young children who were severely traumatized. I've dealt with people who were in situations of homelessness, or people coming out of situations of domestic abuse, and I'm really talking about fine art as a vehicle for transformation or healing. How would you, I mean, would you agree that art might be something that's missing in social work?
Oh, it's missing in life, in the kind of life that we have now. Most people don't have a chance to appreciate fine art, and the best way to appreciate it is to have a chance to do some of it, to try it out, and to discover one's own spontaneity. And I think that if social workers understand that when they're working directly with clients, it will make a big difference. If parents understood it, it would make a big difference too. But my end, I never work directly with clients as you have. I work with teaching the people who were going to work with clients.
Okay.
So it's a little different.
So, so what is your journey right now in terms of creating work? Where are you going now with your work?
I'm in a kind of transition that I don't know where it's going. I think it's getting freer. I don't paint as many hours. I don't have the stamina I used to have. I do spend a lot of time working in my garden. I'm planting trees in my garden, so I'm still obsessed with trees, I guess. And we shall see what happens. I've been working smaller and a lot with sticks and with a lot more freedom, I think, than I've worked in the past. Like making marks that are not necessarily going to depict anything. They're just marks.
And are there any kind of mediums that you haven't explored yet that you plan to explore?
I don't think so. Some of the people I know are doing collage, but I've never felt comfortable with collage. I think that just the becoming more free in the marks I make is an exploration. Leaving more space, more open space on the canvas or the paper is another thing that I've been doing. And you can see that in my more recent work, some of the work that's on the website. But I go back and forth.
Well, I noticed you were doing some work with Sumi ink, and
yes,
actually more figurative things with. It looks like images of people that you were doing with sticks. So, are you going to continue more with that? Are you still working with that?
Yes, I have a drawing group that meets every Tuesday afternoon for 3 hours, and a few years ago, I stopped. Well, I sometimes use pencil or pen, but I started using sticks to draw from the figure, and so my figure drawings are really very free and lots of line, and not necessarily precise in terms of what a figure looks like. So it's kind of somewhere between. I took some brush painting work with a Chinese artist, a calligrapher, and I think that's had an effect on me to be more free with the movement and not care whether it actually looks like a leg. Be more interested in the space and the form of the line that I'm drawing. And I think that's affecting my oil painting a lot. So that the rather than the image demanding what you do, like it's a tree. It's got to look like a tree. It's the marks that begin to be like a tree because you've imagined it as a tree in some way. So you're not trying to draw what a tree really looks like. You're trying to draw what looking at a tree feels like.
So most of your work has basically had to do with nature. What are your
Yes.
Is it purely an artistic process, or do you have strong feelings toward the environment or environmental movements?
Oh, I definitely like the environmental movement. I'm not an activist sort of person, but I am planting a lot of trees in my yard, and I walk my dog at the park 5 days a week, and I love being out, and that's really half my life is walking around in the parks and planting trees and clipping roses and working with the gardener who comes and helps me. And I'm very pleased to be planting trees, and I know that that's a very good thing to do for the environment.
Well, Sylvia, thank you so much for coming on Corinne's Picks. I love your work. It was very, very insightful in terms of your process, and seeing some more of your latest paintings. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Okay.
And it's great to see you.
If you want to see some more of Sylvia's work, again, it's sylviasussman.com. When the credits roll, you'll see her email address and a website. Thank you so much, Sylvia.
Thank you, Corinne.
Okay.
I'ma show you how to party.